What's up, bro? How you doing?
What's going on, buddy?
So if I'm looking at my phone, it's just I'm looking at notes because you have a lot of accolades on your LinkedIn. So I was like, I don't want to forget anything important about John. No, man, I appreciate your time. I just want to have like a quick, fun conversation. I've learned a lot from you over the past, I don't know how long we've known each other, a year, maybe more?
No longer than that, yeah.
Has it been longer?
It's been longer.
Time flies
sure.
when you're having fun. So I just want to talk about networking. You have like a whole treasure trove of experience. You've worked with multiple different companies. You've introduced me to a lot of people, gone out of your way to help me out in my business. So, just thought bring you on and have a fun conversation with you.
Right on. Let's do it.
So when it comes to like, when I stalked you all over social media and LinkedIn, the few things that I kind of put together, you've accelerated multiple different companies by building teams and done a lot of strategic, like meeting people and networking. And that's exactly what I want to know. Like just on an overview, if you had to just tell someone like, what have you done and what are you up to? How would you start that?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a deep question, but honestly, that goes back all the way to the very beginning of my career. My dad was in the same business, and he told me before I started that you needed to make your customers your friends. And back then, my customers were real estate agents, and it was really easy because you could go golfing, you can go to the bar, you could do fun things and turn these people into your friends, right? Well, what happened is that just turned into like a natural thing for me. You're meeting people, you get to know them, and then, in my business, referral partners are people that give you business, right? So they could be attorneys, financial planners, real estate agents, anybody that could potentially refer a home buyer to you is who I want to become friends with. So that's what I did. And it was actually when I was a young kid, I was 20 when I got in this business. I'm 53 years old now, so I've been doing it for a long time. But when I was a kid, that was the easiest way for me to like get myself in front of people. I would go, hey, you want to go have a beer after work? And that was literally what started my career. It also started a drinking problem for me, if I'm going to be totally honest. So be careful.
Yeah.
If that's the way you create contacts, but it was like, genuine. It was we'd go out and go to happy hour, watch football, become friends. And then, human nature is when you're friends with people, you want to help them. Right. Yeah. And so I would refer my customers to them. They referred their people to me. And so it was like a mutually beneficial friendship / business kind of acquaintance,
I think that's really similar to like how I do it, and that's why I think we get along, because we became friends first before we started working on anything.
Yep.
And it became easy for me to say, hey, let's work together, or you to say, hey, let's work together, because we're already friends.
Yep.
I think the common misconception is that it's like networking is either selfish or like for business only, and hey, I'm only going to become friends with you
if you give me something,
if we work in business. But, I know that over time, as I'm experiencing all this, that's not how it works. Is let's just be friends. If business happens, if there's an opportunity, let's do that.
Yep. I'm
sure people in the many years that you've been doing this, like get kind of soured by like, hey, what is it, like the genuine intentions, or what's the thing? How do you navigate that, or how do you think about that?
I think about it like you and I consider you my friend, like legit, like you're my friend before you're a business acquaintance now. Before it was like you were, some guy that I knew that did this stuff in business, and then we became friends. So I genuinely do care about you, and I want you to succeed. And so like, that's why I refer you to people when I can. And you're really good at your job. That helps. If you weren't, it'd be a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I think it's just like you said, being a genuine human being. I am who I am. I tell my wife this all the time. Not everybody's going to like you, right? So the people that do are the people you're going to work with, and that you're going to become friends with. Mm-hmm. And the people that don't, who cares? There's plenty of people in the world that'll like you.
Yeah.
Who just exactly how you are. And so for me, I don't personally like disingenuous types of people. I don't like that personality type. I don't like the super salesy people. I was just talking to my brother on a car ride the other day, and we were talking about somebody that we grew up with. And it's a similar in business, right? He only calls us when he needs something. And nobody wants that. Who wants that? You know what I mean? Like you want to feel like when Sahib calls me, I want to be like, you might just be calling me to say, hey, you want to go to Cars and Coffee? And I'm like, that's a friendship. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yes, I do want to go to Cars and Coffee. If you just called me 7 times a week to say, dude, you got any customers? You got any customers? You got any customers? I wouldn't answer my phone anymore. And so what you're doing and how you're doing it is exactly how I built my business. And it's the same thing. I mean, over 34 years of doing this same business, or 33 or whatever it's been, I have a lot of friends in this business. And somebody just posted, I'm not going to keep rambling about this, but somebody that I was in the business with like 20 years ago posted on LinkedIn the other day, and he tagged me in the post. And that guy I would call my friend. You know, I don't talk to him all the time, but I call him my friend. And we give each other business when we can because we care about each other, you know, and we help each other out. We prop each other up. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yeah, I like that mindset where it's like everyone eats. Like we all eat together, right? So it's not like, you know, hey, I'll give you business if you do this for me or if you pay me back or whatever, right? It's like, hey, here's an opportunity. Hopefully it helps you.
Yeah.
And that mindset kind of, I've seen like there's two, you know, the crabs in the bucket where you're just dragging everyone down, or it's the opposite where it's like, let's lift everyone up so everyone eats. I'd rather have a smaller piece of a much bigger pie than a big piece of a really small pie. Where, you know, you said your dad kind of inspired you and stuff, like, can you talk about that, like what you learned from him? And there's a lot of parallels of like things that I learned about networking from my dad. So I'd love to hear about like that story.
Yeah, I watched my dad as a young man in this business. Like my dad was a serial entrepreneur. So like he was always going for the gold. And as a kid and as a child, back then when we were growing up in the 70s and 80s, you know, early 90s, it was a lot different. You know, people struggled a lot more than they do now because there's so much opportunity now. There wasn't as much back then, but more times than not, we were poor. And I don't say that to be like, oh, feel sorry for me because we were poor. I mean, and that's relative, right? Poor by today's standards, right? Probably, but we moved 9 times inside of like a 5 or 6 year period because we couldn't afford our homes. And so, but my dad worked really hard and he was really smart and he went to college and he was like somebody I looked up to tremendously. And I remember driving with him in the car one day. He was in the mortgage business, right? And he had a little office. He was a branch manager of a company called South Pacific Financial. And I think this was probably in like mid 80s, like late 80s, like 87, 88. And I'm in the car and he handed me a check and it was one of his paychecks. And he goes, "This is why I'm in this business." And it was like 20 grand. And I go, "What is that?" You know, like money didn't mean as what it does today, right? I knew it was a lot of money. And I don't know what that would be in today's world, but it'd be a lot of money. And he goes, "That was my paycheck on like for this month." And I'm like, oh, the light came on for me. Like, oh my gosh, dude, like I can make that kind of money in this business. And so I learned all of, you know, everything I know from my dad and my mom. My mom was in the business too, but my dad was like my mentor. And he taught me the thing that I really look back on now and respect a lot is that he taught me the things that he did that were right. And he taught me not to do the things that he did wrong. So I had an advantage. I learned all the things that he did when I got in the business, and we opened a company together, and I got to learn from him like one on one for like 8 years of work together. We had a business together, but and I still to this day, he died like 22 years ago, but I still to this day look back on my dad and the mentorship that he kind of put me through, even as a child, not knowing. I mean, there's more to the story because I was telemarketing for him when I was in high school. Before I got in the business, like full time, I went and telemarketed for one of his mortgage companies. And I was in high school making more money than people were making full time that were out of high school. And he gave me that opportunity. But telemarketing is like, you know, at the time you're picking up a phone book and just dialing for dollars out of the yellow pages back then. So anyway,
was there like similar story? Like I learned a lot from my dad in terms of networking. I would go with him to his events and his like trips that he would get from the companies, and I never understood like what he did. And whenever I'd ask him, he'd just be like, "Oh, I'm a broker. I just connect people." And I'm like, "What? I don't get it. What does that mean?"
Yeah.
And like I would hear him working on deals in China and deals here and like the most random things. But like it would seem like money's coming, so we're good. So that's what my dad, like everyone, you know, in school was like, "Oh yeah, my dad's an engineer. My dad's this." Like it's a very like clear job title. But when there wasn't a clear job title, and it was like the coolest thing ever. And that's why I think I was inspired to just like, I just want to be friends with everyone. I just want to meet the coolest people, and like wherever business or opportunity intersects, we'll take advantage of it. We'll all make money. We'll all eat. With that, I made so many mistakes, like networking and maybe thinking too much about business, maybe not thinking as much about friendship. I know you learned some mistakes to avoid from your dad, but like, what are some mistakes that you made early on networking?
Oh, I've made so many mistakes. I don't know where to begin. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Let me think of something that like sticks out. I mean, when it comes to networking specifically, I think, yeah, I mean, that's actually not that hard of a question. I think where you have to have some boundaries, dude. You know, like making friends in business is like genuine friendship is like the key to me. And you need to be genuine. Like if you're a genuine human being, you and I have a genuine friendship. It's a good example. I mean, there's not a better example than me and you and our relationship because we just met each other and we became friends, right?
Yeah.
You took my wife and I to Cars and Coffee, and I go there almost every weekend now. I've never even been to one of those things. So you changed like a perspective on my life that actually gave me like this whole new cool thing that I get to do in my life now that I didn't even know existed. And now I go to different Cars and Coffees.
Nice.
It's, you know, so, but I think what I would say is when going back to the boundaries, I can only relate this to my own perspective. First of all, like not everybody's your friend. Like people that you meet in business are business acquaintances. And I've recently actually realized, there's a big difference between a business acquaintance and a true friend. Mm-hmm. And I know the distinction now, but I made the mistake by trusting people too much. You can't trust very many people in this world. And you need to be careful about who you trust completely, you know? And I'm one of those people that I just instantly meet people and want to trust them.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest strength and the biggest weakness that I think I have as a human being is because like the people that won't take advantage of that understand me and I'll build a lifelong friendship with them. And the people that think they're going to take advantage of me, they misunderstand like that for weakness. I'm not weak. I'm over trusting, right? So like, and that's burned me a lot in my business and in my career, a lot, like more times than I probably want to admit. But I mean, I'll give you an example. When I hire somebody, I have like my own style of management. I don't like even managing people. I like to try to lead people, right? I try to lead people to their own potential because, you know, if someone's going to be successful, it's going to be on them to be successful. And so what you can do is you can try to bring out the best in people. And that's just my own style. I don't like managing, but when you can get that out of somebody and all of a sudden they start to see success and you're helping them, multiple times in my career, people have thought, I don't need this guy anymore. I'm too good for him.
Yeah.
And then they leave, but in the process of leaving the relationship, they fracture the friendship. And it's not, I mean, that's where there's like a boundary or a disconnect that happens. And, you know, most of the time, those people that I'm talking about, I can name multiple people, right? I'm not going to do that, but they don't make it, you know, because, you know, like in business there's like team dynamics that work. You might be really good at something that I'm terrible at. I know that I know for sure you are. Like you're good at things that I'm not. I'm probably good at things that you're not, right? And if we mutually beneficially leverage those things to help each other, it works.
Yeah.
But the minute I think I can do what Sahib does better than he can, I'm going to learn really quick. I can't, and then oh shit, the whole thing that I thought we were doing, that I could do better.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't work at all. You know, I shouldn't. Sorry about the S word.
No, you're good. You're good. No filter. Was there a moment in your like journey of like you have that realization like, oh shit, I know enough people, I can do whatever I want, like I have flexibility and freedom? Or are you there? Have you had that moment yet?
I've had that moment multiple times, yeah. And it's kind of an interesting question because I ponder that for probably the last like 10 years. I should have just went out on my own a long time ago. I could have, I should have, and I you know, I didn't. And I look back at now and I go, man, I'd be in a different place today if I would have done that. And I've been going back to my dad. I've been conservative in my career because I didn't want the highs and lows. You know, I didn't want to go for the gusto and then have nothing. And people that get to the top of the mountain are willing to lose everything. Yeah. And I honestly haven't really wanted to do that. I haven't been really willing to lose everything. I did once, and it wasn't intentional. It was like unintentional. But it wasn't because I took a giant gamble. It was because I got myself into a weird spot in life. You know what I mean? So, but like, yeah, should I be on my own right now, running my own company? I think I absolutely, I know I could. Mm-hmm. That's not like, I have zero doubt about that. I'm very confident that I could run my own company. Sometimes I wish I was, you know, and there's other times where I'm like, I'm really glad I'm not dealing with all of that. Cause there's a lot of pressure when you're the top of the food chain, you know? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, there's pros and cons of both, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna. You can't look at life and go, "I regret a choice that I made," because everything shapes you to who you are today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Something you mentioned really early on is that there's way more opportunity now. There's opportunity everywhere now.
Yeah.
That's something. So there's two sides to it. Like one is like there's no jobs, the economy's gone to shit, the world is ending, we're all screwed.
Yeah.
And that's an easy mindset to fall in. I used to be like, oh, that's so stupid. No one should ever think that. But then, when times are tough, it's natural to get into that kind of rut, and you're like thinking those negative things. On the other hand, you're seeing, like, I'm sure you see it, there's millions of ways to make money.
Yeah.
And there's ways to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
That, like, the traditional path of school and college and then job and then work your way up, that's not necessarily the right way anymore. Mm-hmm. So you obviously have, like, way more experience and feet on the ground than I do. Where do you see opportunity now that maybe people are overlooking?
I don't think people are overlooking it. I think that where the opportunity is in AI and all of media, video, social content. And I think that it's not that we're not looking, but the people that are my age don't understand it. We can't, we have a hard time like learning it. So I want to do that. I want to go, man, how could I go make a whole bunch of money doing that cool like stuff that Sahib does? I just don't, it's like I'm like an old dog now. I can learn new tricks, but not as easy as I used to be able to. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's, all of that, Bitcoin, all that stuff that the younger generation's kind of into.
Yeah. I'm saying, so specifically in your domain,
in my domain,
in your domain, like, there is so much opportunity. I know loan officers are making a lot of money. I know, like, there's opportunity there. What do you see as like a new frontier or a place that, maybe people just don't realize?
Oh man. My industry's pretty innovative. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people, there's about 500,000 ish licensed MLOs in the mortgage space. There's over 1 million in the real estate side, but, the non-QM, non-traditional financing space, I'm starting to learn a lot more about, and I'm learning things that I didn't know existed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, man. I mean, there's a lot of people in my business that don't understand that side of the industry, and there's a lot of people in that side of the industry that really get it, and they're killing it. And like an example would just be the non-QM loans versus like a conventional loan, right? Where on a conventional loan, you need 2 years. You just need all the traditional paperwork to get the loan, and it's laborious. It's a lot of work, and it's a pain in the butt. That's why loans take 45 days, and people are pulling their hair out. But on the non-QM space, if you have some money to put down, I mean, you can just get a VOE and be done with it. I mean, it's like a loan you can close in 7 days, and there's a lot more people that qualify for that, for these loans. So I think if there's people on the sideline not trying to buy homes because they get paid uniquely, like Uber drivers and things like that. I mean, we have there's a whole world of loans out there that a lot of people don't know exist.
There, in anything financial related, anywhere where money is changing hands, especially related to a bank, like I think that's just a place where middlemen and people in the middle of the transaction stuff can make a lot of money. Do you see like, people shifting away from the traditional, like becoming a real estate agent, becoming a loan officer and trying to do all the new trendy things, or like young professionals, where are they going? Like, what are you looking for when you're building a team and hiring?
I work for a bank now, so I got to be careful about how I respond to certain things, but how I answer certain questions, I'll say. But people my age, right? We've been doing this business the same way. It hasn't changed I've been in it for 33, 34 years now. It's pretty much been very similar. DU came out in like 97. That was a big shift, but it didn't change like the industry. It changed. You still get loans the same way. You still process them the same way, and everything kind of still happens the same way. But there is definitely the newer generation. I'll answer your question in a minute, but the newer generation of people coming out into this business are finding innovative ways to get loans, to get customers. Social media, content creation. I'm trying to, you know me, I've been trying to figure this out for a while. It's hard, Yeah. But to my daughter, who's 17, it would be like a no big deal. I mean, she's already, I look at her views. I just looked at her views the other day. I'm like, I would kill to have the kind of views she has on her social media platforms, I don't even know how to get it. I'm trying my hardest to get views, and I got nothing compared to her. And that stuff is where the future of our industry is going. I mean, because like the more people you can connect with, the more opportunities you can open. And so I think what I look for, there's two different things that I look for. And I'm in so many channels, it depends on what I'm talking about. But I look for people that are just motivated. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I look for hardworking, motivated people. I don't really care. There's different kinds of people that get business different ways. I don't really care. If someone works hard and they're motivated, they're going to get business.
Gotcha. So going back to a little bit more of the networking and opportunity, if you were to lose your entire network today and start from scratch, where would you go? What would you do?
I think, honestly, I probably would start, if I had zero network today, the hard part is for me, and knowing what I know, I would probably go to LinkedIn. I would go to Instagram. I would start reaching out to people that own companies and just introducing myself. And then I would also probably do the old school method of going out in the field, which is the hard part that people today are petrified to do, right? We had to do that. We had to get in our car and go open a door, walk into an office and say, "Hey, I'm John Brumund. Nice to meet you." And that was like, even then it was scary, but people nowadays, I mean, they are very hesitant to do that. But if you did that, it's so unusual now that you'd be like, I went out in the field. I've been going out in the field visiting customers again, which I haven't done in a long, long time. And one of my customers today is like a mortgage broker, right? The mortgage broker community, not just a mortgage broker. So I go out and I visit with them. And it's like brings back all these memories of when I used to do that as when I first got in the business. And I love it. It's like, it's cool. It's invigorating. You go in these offices and you get to meet new people. But the one thing I noticed, and I didn't notice it until an AE walked in to an office that I was in one day. I'm like, dude, I've been out in visiting brokers now for like the last couple of years. I haven't seen a single AE when I'm in their office. And one day, this guy that is really well known in the industry walked in, and he walked up to me, and we started talking. And I'm like, dude, you're the first AE I've seen in like a year out in the field.
Yeah.
And so because that's so unusual now, I'd go back to the old school way and combine it with some new school stuff, and then you could build a network really quickly.
The pendulum's kind of swung the other way, and now there's emptiness and opportunity here.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I want to do this cool. I'm copying like someone else's podcast style right here, but I want to rattle off a bunch of quotes and statements about networking.
Okay.
Some are maybe cliche, some may be controversial. All I want you to do is say true or false, whether you agree or not, true or false, and then a quick sentence about why. Okay?
Okay.
So the first one, your network is your net worth.
True.
Why?
Because that's where everything happens. I mean, your network is where everything happens.
Okay. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
True. Because your habits become consistent with the people that you spend your time with.
Okay. Give. Keep on giving, and then you ask.
False.
Okay. Interesting. Why?
Because I think if you're in sales, which we're all in sales, this is going to be more than a sentence. I apologize. But
no, you're good.
When you're in sales, you have to ask for the business.
Okay.
You can give and ask.
When do you ask? Like, when is the right time to ask?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to be an offensive ask. It can be a very, that's a really tough one, to be honest, because like you should give some energy before you ask for something. But I have seen too many salespeople make the mistake of never asking for the business. And at the end of the day, if you don't ask, you're not going to get the business. So, I mean, I don't know. There's probably maybe it's like a half and half for me. You know what I mean?
Okay. Hard work doesn't get you into the room. Relationships do. I
would say false.
Okay.
Because you can create relationships through hard work.
Good answer. Cool. So those are some of the cliche quotes that I wanted to run by you, get a quick rapid fire. I think like the last few things that I would want to share or talk about is where, for the young person today who's wants to be an entrepreneur, wants to get started in some sort of business, but doesn't know where they want to go. How do you find something that fulfills you? That's something that seems like the right purpose, the right thing to chase. Where should you start as a young wannabe entrepreneur?
I think you have to figure out, which is the hardest part, what you love. I don't think if you can find something that you love, that you're passionate about, you're going to figure out how to make it work. I mean, that's just for me where I'd start. And if you don't love something, what do you like? What do you enjoy? And then figure out what's available in those areas. I could expand on that if you want me to, but like one of my children says, like, I want to help people. So I go through this at home because my kids are all of the age where they're trying to go out and explore the world. And I'm, like, what do you mean help people? What does that mean? And you can't explain it. So, I'm trying to be like driving him towards like, let's narrow this down to what you can actually do, helping people but also making a living so you can, afford to live. And so it's actually, I think honestly, dude, if it was me, I would go to ChatGPT and say, this is what I like doing. Give me a bunch of opportunities that are available in this market. I literally have done that.
Yeah. Fantastic. Is our generation super entitled and lazy and expects things to be handed to us? Like the younger generation you see, maybe people my age or younger.
Well, you're not. And so like I have kids that are not, and I have kids that are. So like, and I don't think overall you can just make a blanket statement and say a whole generation is lazy. No, absolutely not. I think there's a lot of grinders out there. I mean, you're one of them, right? So there's entitled adults that are, not adults, but there's entitled people that are my age. Yeah. So I don't think that.
Okay. And then the last thing, something that I think about a lot is maybe it's not a good thing to think about, but I have like a set number where I hit this number in money and I'm good. I'm chilling. Maybe I don't have to work. Maybe I can. Yeah. And some people have told me like that's the wrong way to think because you're limiting yourself and you're focused on the money rather than maybe the work or the purpose or anything else. But other people say like that's a good goal to aim for because then when you have that number, you don't have to focus on work. You can focus on giving back and providing. Do you have a number in mind, or do you have a place where you're like, I don't have to ever work again? Or are you the type where I'm just going to keep working? Work is more important, and like the purpose of my work and the fulfillment is more important than the money.
You know what? I wish I would have had a number when I was your age, and that's when I met you and I figured out how old you were. It blew my mind because you're so mature and you're so motivated that I was like, wow, man, if I would have had that motivation when I was your age, dude, it would have been amazing. And I didn't. I was like playing ping pong at night with my buddies, out in the garage. You know what I mean? I wasn't thinking about work. I didn't really want to work. I was working because I needed to. But I've always had a little bit of a different mindset. I've kind of had some self-limiting beliefs in my life. You know what I mean? And I've always had like something I felt like I have to prove something. And so that's driven me to be successful. And part of that is some of the stuff with my dad that I told you about earlier, but was like, I don't ever want to be a failure versus like, I want to go to this number, you know what I mean? But I always say this, like money follows success. And that's just, I've always been driven by being successful at what I do because I know that money will follow that. But I honestly could, if I go back in time, which I cannot do, I would have picked a number and I would have hit it a long time ago. I just didn't, you have to have a goal.
Yeah.
And like, I think like whether your goal is to be the CEO of a big company or to make $20 million and that's your number, if you start that at a young age, then you can start chipping away at your goal. If you don't start out life with a goal, what are you doing? You're just kind of like floating around trying to figure out what life's all about, Yeah. But I do have a number now. Yeah. Now I have one because now I'm like, man, at some point I gotta, be able to retire and so I have a number, And
what does retirement look like for you? Is it I'm not going to work again, I'm just going to sit on the beach sipping margaritas, or is it I'm going to do something else with my life, something whatever.
You want to like
yeah, 100%,
I'm going to be totally honest.
Yeah,
I just talked to my brother about this the other day. Retirement looks to me like I don't think I'll ever stop like completely working because then my brain's going to seize up, but I wouldn't mind like getting to a point where I didn't have to worry about money at all. And I could sit on a board or two of a couple of mortgage companies or banks and be involved in strategy and things like that I love that keep my brain invigorated. But I kind of have gotten into this weird hobby of wanting to buy cars and fix them up.
Yeah.
And my wife and I have always talked about, getting in a motorhome and going out and seeing every state and all the different things in the different states because we haven't. I travel a lot for work, but I just work.
Yeah.
And so, I want to do that in the next like 5 to 10 years because, why I'm still healthy and happy and I can do whatever I want to do. But like retirement to me is simple. I'm going to have grandkids, I think, at some point. I already have some, I'm going to have some more. I want to spend time with my kids, my grandkids. I want to enjoy my life with my wife, who's my best friend. And I want to buy a bunch of cars and fix them up and make that kind of like my new hobby. I don't have like grandiose plans for my life. And then, you know, obviously giving back somehow, you know, because that's at the end of the day, that's what you get fulfillment from giving back, you know. And I haven't done a lot of that in my life, you know. I just have always felt like I'm not quite there yet, which is an excuse. But I'm not, you know, if I was 27 and was like trying to figure out how I can get to a point to give back like you are, man, it would have been a much different life for me. But and the other thing, here's what I'd say. Everything in excess is a problem, like, you know, including work, including drinking, including smoking pot, whatever it is. Like if you want to be successful, you have to have a balance. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier with balancing the work relationship. If if you're out till 3 o'clock in the morning with your customers and you're justifying it because that's your customer, you're going to end up in a bad place. Yeah. And I can, you know, so just have some limits, you know, set some limits. If you want to succeed in life and you want to make money, you know, you can go out with your customers, spend a reasonable amount of time, and then be able to get up tomorrow, go to the gym, get back to work with a clear head, you know, do things that are healthy for you in life and not unhealthy because, you know, you only have one body.
Yep.
But that's another thing. I would say that I wish I would have prioritized for everything is my health. I didn't, you know, and being healthy is probably more important than anything else because your mind is affected by your physical health and all that other stuff. And so it gives you the ability to do better at everything, business, family, and all the things that are important.
Yeah. Sweet, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. This is sick.
Yeah, thank you. This is fun.
Man. We'll do this again.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to live vicariously through you because I'm going to watch you succeed and get to your number and then get back.
That.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to always take your wisdom and advice and always reach out to you for stuff. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
All right.